HOA broke my disabled girl's leg brace. Unaware, I'm police chief. The sound of metal snapping echoed through the quiet afternoon, a sound I'll never forget. My little girl, Lily, just 7 years old, screamed as she fell onto the pavement, her pink leg brace twisted, broken in half. The woman standing above her, our HOA president, Karen, didn't even flinch. She just folded her arms and said coldly, "Maybe next time you'll follow our neighborhood rules." For a second, I couldn't move. My heart stopped as Lily sobbed, clutching her leg. That brace wasn't just metal, it was her courage, her way of walking again after years of therapy. And Karen, she just snapped it like it was nothing. Neighbors froze on their porches. Some pulled out their phones. Others whispered. But nobody dared step forward. Not when Karen was involved. She ran this neighborhood like her own kingdom, threatening fines, calling the cops for parked cars, bullying families into silence. But this time, she had no idea who she was dealing with. I took a slow breath, trying to calm the fire in my chest. My badge was hidden under my jacket, my gun locked safely in the car. I wasn't here as the police chief today. I was here as a father watching his little girl cry. And at that moment, I made a promise. Karen would pay for every tear that fell from my daughter's eyes. What I didn't know was that this single moment would tear the entire HOA apart. Hey, everyone, before we dive deep into this emotional story, tell me something. Backhand index pointing right. Which city are you watching from right now? Drop your city name in the comments below. I always love seeing where my viewers are tuning in from. Globe showing Americas. And while you're at it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the story you're about to hear is one that'll stay with you for a long time. This isn't just about rules or neighborhood politics. It's about a father's love, a child's pain, and how power can twist ordinary people into something cruel. You see, I moved my family into this HOA community thinking it would be peaceful, safe for Lily, my disabled daughter, who'd finally learned to walk with the help of her leg brace. She was proud of herself, proud that she could finally chase butterflies in the yard again. But what I didn't expect was the HOA's obsession with control, the endless rules, the cold letters, and a president who thought she could decide who was good enough to live there. That woman, Karen, had a smile for the board meetings, but behind closed doors, she was a tyrant. And the day she shattered Lily's leg brace, she shattered something inside me too. So stay with me till the end, because what started as a cruel act of humiliation turned into a story of justice, heartbreak, and a reckoning that no one in that HOA saw coming. All right, let's begin the story from the exact moment my little girl's world fell apart. The sun was warm that morning, golden rays sliding through the oak trees that lined Maplewood Drive. Birds chirped, sprinklers hissed, and for a moment it looked like one of those perfect American mornings you see in real estate ads. Lily sat on our front porch, her bright yellow sketchbook in her lap, coloring in a picture of a butterfly she'd seen the day before. Her leg brace, silver and pink, gleamed under the light. "Dad," she called out softly, "do you think the other kids will ever stop staring at my leg?" My chest tightened. "Sweetheart," I said, sitting beside her, "people stare because they don't understand. But one day, they'll look at you and see courage." She smiled a little, the kind of brave smile that broke me every single time. That's when the screech of golf cart tires tore through the calm. I didn't have to look. I already knew that sound. Karen, our beloved HOA president. She pulled up in her golf cart like a sheriff arriving in town, clipboard in one hand, sunglasses hiding those cold, judgmental eyes. Behind her sat her sidekick, Marla, always ready to nod and agree with everything Karen said. "Mr. Dawson," Karen said, stepping off her cart, "I noticed your daughter's ramp isn't painted the approved shade of beige." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "The ramp leading to your porch. According to HOA Rule 14B, all accessibility modifications must match the community's neutral color scheme. Yours is pink." Lily's face fell. She'd painted it herself last weekend. "But I made it pretty," she said softly, clutching her sketchbook. Karen didn't even glance at her. "That's exactly the problem. It draws attention. This neighborhood has standards. You'll need to repaint it within 48 hours or face a violation notice. I could feel my blood heating up. She's 7, I said quietly. She painted it because it makes her happy. Karen's smile tightened. Happiness doesn't excuse breaking rules, Chief Dawson. The way she said chief made it sound like an insult. She knew who I was. Everyone did. But that didn't stop her. Marla scribbled something on the clipboard. I'll add that to the report, she said. Report? I repeated. You're reporting a child's ramp color? Karen shrugged. Rules are rules. If we bend them once, where does it end? Someone paints a door red, another installs a non-standard mailbox, and before you know it, chaos. I wanted to say something back, something sharp, but Lily's eyes were already glistening. She looked at her ramp, then back at me and whispered, It's okay, Dad. I'll just make it beige. That broke me more than any insult ever could. Karen turned to leave, but not before saying, And Mr. Dawson, please remind your daughter not to ride her wheelchair on the grass again. It damages the lawn. She said it so casually, as if my daughter's mobility aid was an inconvenience, not a lifeline. As her golf cart sped off, I clenched my fists. I dealt with criminals, liars, and corrupt politicians, but never someone so perfectly wrapped in politeness and poison. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the porch, watching the moonlight hit the pink ramp. Lily had fallen asleep holding her sketchbook, the page smeared with tears. I kept thinking about what kind of world punishes a little girl for trying to make something beautiful. By morning, I decided to call the next HOA meeting. Maybe reason would work. Maybe someone would see how wrong this all was. When I arrived at the clubhouse, Karen was already there, surrounded by her loyal board members. The room smelled like cheap coffee and control. Chief Dawson, she greeted, smiling like we were old friends. How lovely of you to join us. Please have a seat. I came to discuss the violation notice you issued for my daughter's ramp. I said, You do realize this is discrimination, right? Her smile never faded. Discrimination? Oh no, don't twist things, Chief. The rules apply equally to everyone. Not everyone has a child with special needs. I shot back. You're punishing a little girl for painting her own ramp. Marla spoke up. We can't make exceptions for emotions. The HOA is built on fairness. Fairness. I repeated, my voice low. Then where was your fairness when you ignored the Johnsons' illegal pool fence? Or when Greg Thompson parked his RV for a week without a notice? The room went silent. Karen's expression hardened. Chief, I understand this is personal for you, but please remember, this community values order. If we start letting people bend rules for personal reasons, it sets a bad precedent. I leaned forward. Let me tell you something about precedent, Karen. When authority is used to humiliate instead of protect, it stops being leadership. It becomes tyranny. For the first time, I saw a flicker in her eyes. She didn't like being challenged. You have 48 hours, she said sharply, cutting me off, or you'll receive a fine. Meeting adjourned. I stood there for a second, fists clenched, jaw tight. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose my cool. I turned and walked out, but deep down I knew this wasn't over. That night, Lily asked, Dad, did I do something wrong? I knelt beside her bed, brushing her hair gently. No, sweetheart, you did everything right. Some people just forget what kindness looks like. She nodded, then whispered, Maybe I'll paint the ramp beige tomorrow. My heart broke all over again. I kissed her forehead and stepped out into the cool night air. The ramp glowed faintly under the porch light, still pink, still beautiful, a tiny rebellion against a world that wanted to dull everything bright. But I had no idea what was coming next, because by the end of the week, that ramp would be gone. And with it, something inside my daughter would break too. The morning started quiet, the kind of calm that fools you before a storm. Lily was humming in the kitchen, scooping cereal into her bowl, while I tied my tie for a morning briefing at the precinct. She looked peaceful, happy even, her pink ramp glowing outside the window like a badge of her innocence. Dad, she said, mouth half full of cereal, can I go to the park today after school? Mrs. Wilson said her cat had kittens. I smiled. Sure thing, champ. Just be careful with your leg, okay? I will. She chirped, her brace clicking softly as she walked away, that rhythmic sound that always reminded me of courage in motion. I didn't know that sound would haunt me before the day ended. When I got the call around 3 p.m., I thought it was another routine neighborhood complaint. Dispatch said someone from a Maplewood HOA had reported a disturbance involving a child. My heart sank when I heard the address, my own. I raced home in record time, sirens off, pulse pounding. As I turned onto my street, I saw a small crowd gathered near our yard. Lily was on the ground, crying, her broken leg brace lying a few feet away, twisted, bent, useless, and standing over her was Karen. My world went silent. I jumped out of the car. What the hell happened here? Karen turned, startled but trying to keep her composure. Chief Dawson, Don't call me Chief right now, I growled, rushing to Lily. Call me Dad. Lily was trembling, tears streaking down her cheeks. Dad, she broke it. She said I wasn't allowed on the ramp until it was repainted. I stared at Karen, disbelief turning to fire. You broke her brace? Karen crossed her arms. It was an accident. She fell while arguing with me. I told her the ramp was still in violation, and she got upset. Her tone was disrespectful. I looked at the shattered brace in my hands. The metal bent inward like it had been stomped on. Disrespectful. I repeated, my voice shaking. She's 7, Karen, and disabled. You think this is about tone? Marla, standing nearby, whispered nervously, maybe we should just go. But Karen lifted her chin higher. This is our community, Chief. Rules are rules. If you want to teach your daughter manners, maybe start by showing her what respect looks like. That's when I lost it. Respect, I said slowly, stepping forward. You break a child's medical brace and call that respect? You're lucky I'm not wearing my uniform right now, because if I were... Are you threatening me? She snapped. Because I can have you removed from the HOA board for harassment. I could hear the murmurs from neighbors. Phones out. Cameras rolling. Everyone watching, but no one stepping in. I forced myself to breathe. Karen, you just committed assault on a disabled minor. You think your little clipboard gives you immunity? For the first time, she hesitated. I didn't mean to hurt her, she muttered, but her tone was flat. No guilt, no remorse, just fear, the kind people have when they realize they might lose their power. I lifted Lily gently into my arms. We're done here. And trust me, Karen, you're going to answer for this. As I turned away, Karen shouted, You can't intimidate me with your badge, Chief. You're just another resident here. The HOA will hear about this. I didn't even respond. Lily's small hands clutched my shirt, her voice trembling. Dad, it hurts. I know, sweetheart. We're going to fix this. I drove her straight to the hospital. The doctor confirmed what I already suspected, the brace was destroyed, and her leg had taken some damage. Nothing permanent, thank God, but the emotional wound, that was another story. When she fell asleep in the hospital bed, I just sat there, watching her breathe. I'd spent my entire career protecting strangers, but when it came to my own daughter, I hadn't been there in time. By evening, my phone was buzzing nonstop. Videos of the incident had hit social media. Clips showing Karen yelling, my daughter crying, and me holding the broken brace. It spread like wildfire. But I didn't care about the internet. I cared about justice. The next morning, I showed up at the HOA office in uniform. Full badge. Full authority. Karen's golf cart was parked outside like always, neat, self-important, and shiny. When I entered, she looked up, eyes wide. Chief Dawson, what is the meaning of this? This, I said, tossing a manila folder onto the table, is an official assault report. And this, I slid another paper toward her, is a request for your immediate suspension as HOA president pending investigation. She laughed nervously. You can't be serious. It was a misunderstanding. Breaking a disabled child's medical equipment is not a misunderstanding, I interrupted. It's cruelty. And you're lucky my daughter isn't pressing full charges. For now. Marla, sitting beside her, looked pale. Karen, maybe we should apologize. Apologize? Karen hissed. He's using his badge to threaten me. This is abuse of power. I leaned forward, voice calm but heavy. No, Karen. Abuse of power is what you've been doing for years, hiding behind bylaws and clipboards to control people's lives. I'm just holding you accountable. Her eyes flickered, but she stayed silent. I gathered my papers. The city council's already aware of the video. You'll be contacted for a statement. In the meantime, stay away from my property, my family, and especially my daughter. As I walked out, I could hear her whisper angrily to Marla, "He'll regret this." But deep down, I knew it wasn't over. People like Karen don't back down easily. They strike back when their pride's wounded. That night, Lily was home again, her leg bandaged, the new brace on order. She was quiet, drawing in her sketchbook. "What are you drawing, kiddo?" I asked gently. She smiled faintly. "A pink ramp, with flowers, like before." I swallowed hard. "You sure you want to keep it pink?" She nodded. "It's mine, Dad. She can't take that away." I hugged her tight. "You're right, sweetheart. She never will." But as I tucked her into bed, I noticed something outside the window. Karen's golf cart creeping by, headlights off, moving slow past our driveway. Watching. It sent a chill down my spine. Because the story wasn't finished. Karen wasn't done yet. And the next time she came for us, it wouldn't just be a broken brace. The next few days were tense, like living under a quiet thundercloud that refused to move. Even though the police report had been filed and Karen had been temporarily suspended from her HOA duties, she was still there, hovering, watching, pretending everything was normal. Every morning, her golf cart rolled past our house slower than usual, her dark sunglasses hiding whatever she was plotting behind them. I tried to act calm for Lily's sake. We built puzzles, watched cartoons, even laughed a little. But every time I looked at her leg brace, that faint dent on the side where it had broken before, my blood boiled all over again. Still, I told myself to focus on peace. I'd been through wars on the streets, investigations, arrests, but this was my daughter's childhood. I wasn't going to let that woman ruin it. I was wrong. It was Saturday morning when the first signs of Karen's revenge appeared. I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing, text after text from neighbors. "Chief, you need to see the community forum. Karen's posted something about you. This is going too far." I opened the HOA group page, and my stomach dropped. There it was, a long post written by Karen herself. "As your HOA president, I feel it's my duty to address the recent incident involving Mr. Dawson and his daughter. While I sympathize with her condition, it's important to note that certain individuals believe their positions of power exempt them from following our community rules. Unfortunately, when someone chooses to respond to guidance with aggression, accidents happen." She had attached a photo, a zoomed-in shot of me holding Lily after the brace broke, taken by someone in the crowd that day. Karen's caption underneath read, "This community deserves peace, not intimidation." I felt the rage rise instantly. She was twisting the story, turning my daughter's pain into her narrative. Within hours, the comments filled up. Some defended her. Others were furious. But the damage was done. The rumor had been planted. Lily noticed me scrolling and tugged my sleeve. "Dad, are they saying mean things again?" I quickly locked my phone. "Don't worry about it, sweetheart. Grown-ups just like to talk." But deep down, I knew Karen wasn't finished. That afternoon, while I was at the precinct, my neighbor Mrs. Wilson called. Her voice was shaking. "Chief, you'd better come home. Karen's hosting some kind of emergency HOA meeting on your front lawn." "My lawn." I repeated. "Yes, she's got a microphone, speakers, and there's a crowd." I didn't even hang up properly. I was already out the door. When I arrived, the sight nearly stopped my heart. Karen stood at the edge of my yard, microphone in hand, addressing a group of about 30 neighbors. A banner behind her read, "Protect our neighborhood standards." Lily was standing on the porch, clutching her stuffed bear, watching it all unfold. Karen spotted me instantly and smiled. "Ah, Chief Dawson. Perfect timing. We were just discussing your unique interpretation of the HOA rules." I walked closer, my voice firm. "You're trespassing." This meeting isn't sanctioned. She ignored me and spoke into the mic. You see, neighbors, this is exactly what I'm talking about, abuse of authority. He thinks being a police officer means he can intimidate anyone who enforces community rules. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I clenched my jaw. Karen, turn that off. Now. She smirked. Or what? You'll arrest me for holding a meeting? Go ahead, Chief. Show everyone what kind of man you really are. Her words hit like a trap, every one of them crafted to make me react. But I refused to give her the satisfaction. Instead, I turned to the crowd. My daughter's leg brace was broken because of this woman's actions. You all saw the video. You know the truth. Karen laughed, a sharp, mocking sound. Oh, the video? You mean the one your friends edited to make me look bad? Don't play the victim. Dawson, you've been using your badge to bully everyone in this neighborhood since day one. That's when I noticed something strange, a man standing near her golf cart, holding a tablet. He was streaming the entire thing live. Karen was broadcasting it. She was turning my front yard into a public trial. I took a deep breath and said, Enough. You're done here, Karen. I reached for the microphone gently, but she yanked it away and stumbled backward, deliberately making it look like I'd grabbed her. She gasped theatrically. He just assaulted me. You all saw that. The crowd erupted in confusion, half gasping, half murmuring. I froze, realizing exactly what she'd planned. She wanted to frame me. But then, before I could say another word, a voice shouted from the street, loud, clear, and furious. You're the one who hurt his little girl. Everyone turned. It was Mrs. Wilson. She walked straight up, holding her phone high. I saw the whole thing, Karen. You kicked the brace yourself. You think we're all blind. The crowd's murmurs turned into angry whispers. Phones were raised. Someone shouted, Play the clip. Mrs. Wilson tapped her screen, and there it was, the full, unedited video, Karen's voice cold and sharp. You're not allowed on this ramp until it's repainted. Then a snap, Lily's scream, and Karen's hand shoving her backward. The silence that followed was deafening. Karen's face drained of color. That's not... But no one was listening. The crowd turned on her instantly. You lied to everyone. She hurt a child. She should be arrested. I stood still, watching it unfold, my hands trembling, not from anger this time, but from relief. The truth was finally out. Karen stumbled backward, muttering, This isn't over, before rushing to her cart and speeding away down the street. The crowd slowly dispersed, murmuring apologies, guilt, disbelief. A few neighbors came to me, heads bowed. Chief, we're sorry we doubted you. I nodded quietly. It's not me you should apologize to. It's Lily. When I walked back inside, Lily was waiting, eyes wide. Dad, did she leave? Yeah, sweetheart. She's gone. She smiled weakly. Good. Maybe now I can go to the park again. I knelt beside her. You can do anything you want. No one's going to stop you. She hugged me tightly, whispering, You're the best police chief ever. I laughed softly. Maybe, but I'm a better dad. As I looked out the window, the sunset painted our pink ramp in gold again. But I couldn't shake one thought. People like Karen don't just disappear. She'd been exposed, humiliated, and cornered. And people like her always strike back when they've lost everything. The following week was the calm after storm, or so I thought. Karen had gone quiet. Her golf cart no longer cruised through the streets, the HOA meeting stopped, and her house stayed dark most nights. Some neighbors said she'd left town, others whispered she was planning to sue. I didn't care either way. All I wanted was for Lily to feel safe again. Her laughter slowly returned. She'd started therapy for her leg, and every evening she'd insist on walking down the pink ramp herself, step by step, brace glinting in the porch light. Each stride was defiance. Each smile was victory. See, Dad, she'd say proudly, Karen can't stop me. I'd smile back, hiding the lump in my throat. No one ever will, sweetheart. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still off, like a door left open somewhere in the dark. One night, just after 10 p.m., I was reviewing case files in my home office when I heard a faint scraping sound outside, like metal dragging on concrete. At first, I thought it was the wind. Then came a soft clunk. I froze. That sound was coming from the porch. I reached for my flashlight and walked quietly toward the front door. The porch light was flickering half dead. When I stepped outside, the breath caught in my throat. The pink ramp, Lily's ramp, was gone. Not painted, not vandalized, gone. All that remained were splinters and bolts scattered across the grass. Karen, I whispered under my breath. I knew it instantly. I ran toward the street, scanning the shadows. At the far end of the cul-de-sac, I saw a figure, a woman in a blue jacket, dragging pieces of the ramp toward her garage. My pulse surged. Karen! I shouted. She froze, then turned, her face pale, under the streetlight. It's my property line, she yelled back. You built that ramp too close. It violates HOA setback rules. Karen, it's not even under your jurisdiction anymore. She laughed, a bitter cracked sound. I made this neighborhood. You think you can take it away from me? Her voice trembled, not with authority, but desperation. I took a step closer. You need to stop this before it gets worse. She pointed a trembling finger at me. You ruined me. Everyone in town's calling me a monster. Because of you. You did that to yourself, I said quietly. Then she said something that chilled me to the core. Maybe I'll call CPS next, she spat. Let them know a police chief is raising a girl in a hostile home. See how that goes. I felt something inside me snap. I'd faced armed suspects, riots, and criminals who tried to kill me. But nothing made me angrier than hearing those words aimed at my daughter. Karen, I said, stepping forward, voice steady, if you take one more step onto my property, I'll arrest you for trespassing and destruction of private property. She smirked, dropping the metal she'd been dragging. Go ahead, Chief. Arrest me. Let's see what your precious reputation looks like on the evening news. The porch light flickered again, casting long, warped shadows across her face. And for the first time, I realized she wasn't just angry. She was unraveling. The next morning, Lily noticed. Dad, where's my ramp? She whispered. My throat tightened. Someone took it, sweetheart. But don't worry, we'll build a new one. Even stronger. Her lip quivered. But I like that one. I painted it pink. I know, I said softly. We'll paint the next one pink too. She looked up at me, eyes glassy. Was it her again? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She knew. That day, I filed for a restraining order. Karen's behavior had gone from harassment to obsession. The court granted it immediately. Officers served the papers that afternoon, warning her to stay 500 feet away from us at all times. But the thing about restraining orders is they only work on people with restraint. 2 nights later, just past midnight, the doorbell rang. Once, then twice. I grabbed my service pistol and approached the door cautiously. The porch camera feed showed nothing but darkness. Then came a voice. Chief Dawson, you home? It was Karen. Her tone was sing-song, almost playful. I flicked on the porch light. She was standing at the edge of the lawn, holding something shiny in her hand. A piece of Lily's broken ramp. Thought you'd want this back, she said, waving it mockingly. Leave, Karen, I warned. You're violating a restraining order. She took a step forward. Oh, come on, Chief. Don't you want to talk? You ruined my life, and you don't even feel sorry? Last warning, I said, drawing my weapon slightly into view. Step away from the property. Her smile faded. You'd really shoot a woman, wouldn't you? The great protector of justice. She dropped the metal piece with a clatter and whispered, You think you've won. But you haven't. Everyone will see the truth about you soon. Then she turned and walked away into the night. I called dispatch immediately. By the time officers arrived, she was gone. They patrolled the neighborhood for an hour but found nothing. Still, I couldn't sleep. Every sound outside made me flinch. At 3 a.m., I checked on Lily, asleep, hugging her bear. I kissed her forehead and sat by the window, gun resting beside me. And that's when I saw it. A faint red glow flickering across the street. Karen's house burning. I raced outside barefoot, yelling for backup as I ran. Flames clawed through her windows, smoke spilling into the sky. A gas can lay tipped over near the driveway. By the time firefighters arrived, it was too late. The house collapsed inward, the roof caving with a groan. When the flames finally died, they found her, unconscious but alive, near the back door. The paramedics said she'd been drinking, probably set the fire accidentally. As they carried her to the ambulance, she looked at me through half-lidded eyes and whispered, "You did this?" Then she blacked out. I just stood there, the fire's reflection flickering in my eyes, realizing how far this had gone. What started as a neighborhood dispute had turned into a war, one that nearly cost both our lives. The next morning, Lily asked quietly, "Is Karen gone now?" I knelt down and hugged her tightly. "Yeah, sweetheart, she's gone." She looked outside at the empty lot, where the ashes still smoked faintly. "Maybe now we can build my new ramp?" I smiled, brushing a tear from her cheek. "Yeah, baby. This time, it'll be the strongest one in the world." As she laughed softly, the morning sun rose behind her, bright and warm, the first peaceful light we'd seen in weeks. But deep down, I couldn't shake the truth. Justice had been served, but not by the law. It had been delivered by fate itself. The morning after the fire, Maplewood felt different. For the first time in months, there were no HOA notices pinned to doors, no whispers about fines or violations. Just silence, the kind that lingers when chaos finally burns itself out. The neighbors walked slower, spoke softer. Even the birds seemed cautious. Lily sat on the porch beside me, her new brace gleaming silver under the sunlight. She had her sketchbook open, doodling hearts and flowers along the edge of the page. But she wasn't smiling. Not fully. "Dad," she said softly, "is Karen dead?" I looked at her, trying to find the right words. "No, sweetheart. She's alive. The firefighters saved her." She nodded slowly, eyes still on her drawing. "Then maybe she can say sorry." That small, innocent sentence hit harder than any insult ever could, because deep down, I knew Karen never would. People like her didn't apologize, they rewrote the story until they were the victims again. But this time, she wouldn't get that chance. By noon, the police report came in. The fire had started in the garage, an overturned gas can near the circuit box. It looked accidental, but something about it didn't sit right. Karen had been drunk, yes, but there were scorch marks on the floor in patterns too deliberate to ignore, lines of accelerant leading toward the living room. I'd seen enough arson scenes to know what that meant. It wasn't just an accident. She'd tried to destroy something. Later that day, I got the call. Chief Dawson, the officer, said, "You might want to come down to the site. There's something here you should see." I drove straight there. The smell of smoke still hung in the air, heavy and bitter. Yellow tape flapped against the wind. A young investigator pointed to a half-burned metal box pulled from the rubble. "What's that?" I asked. "We found it under the floorboards near the living room," he said. "Looks like a safe. Combination locks melted shut, but we can open it at the lab." My gut twisted. Do it. Hours later, I stood in the station as they pried it open. Inside were stacks of folders, HOA documents, printed emails, even USB drives. But what caught my eye was a thick red binder labeled Maplewood Violations, Confidential. I flipped it open and my blood ran cold. It wasn't just about me. It was about everyone. Karen had kept detailed records, personal files on every family in the community, notes about their children, finances, private arguments, photos taken from angles that made it clear she'd been spying on us all. But at the very back of the binder, clipped under a paper labeled Dawson Family, there were printed screenshots of Lily. Photos of her playing on the porch, painting her ramp, walking down the driveway. Some were dated weeks before the incident. And written beside them in Karen's neat, looping handwriting were notes that made my skin crawl. Ramp, color non-compliant. Resident refuses correction. Daughter uses crutch improperly. Possible claim of disability exaggerated for sympathy. I slammed the folder shut. She hadn't just hated us, she'd been obsessed. The department took over the investigation. I recused myself, but I couldn't stay away from the case entirely. Each night, as Lily slept peacefully, I went through those files again and again, trying to understand how someone so ordinary could spiral into such cruelty. And then one night, I found a letter tucked inside one of the USB envelopes. It was addressed to the HOA board. If anything happens to me, the truth must come out. They think I'm cruel, but I've been trying to protect this community from something far worse. The chief isn't who he says he is. My hands froze. There was more, a USB drive taped to the back of the page. I plugged it into my laptop cautiously. The screen filled with documents, fake reports, doctored emails, screenshots of edited messages. She'd been trying to fabricate evidence against me, corruption, abuse of power, even claims that I'd tampered with community funds. It was insane. She'd been planning to frame me before everything exploded. The ramp, the confrontation, the fire, it had all been part of her unraveling paranoia. The realization sank in like ice water. I'd been living next door to someone who'd lost touch with reality long before any of this started. A week later, I got a call from the hospital. Karen wanted to see me. For a moment, I thought about saying no. But something in me, the cop, the father, the human being, needed closure. When I arrived, she looked nothing like the woman I remembered. Her face was pale, her hair burned at the ends. Her right hand was bandaged, and her voice was thin, almost childlike. "You came," she whispered. "I didn't come for you," I said quietly. "I came for answers." She smiled weakly. "Answers? You think I wanted to hurt her? You broke her leg brace, Karen. You humiliated her. You tried to destroy everything good in her world." Her eyes flickered. "I was protecting the community. It had to stay perfect." "Perfect," I repeated. "You call that perfect?" She looked away, tears pooling in her eyes. "My son used to live here. Before you moved in. He died in an accident on this street. I begged the board to fix the road signs, the speed bumps. They ignored me. So when I became president, I promised I'd never let this place fall apart again. But everyone laughed at me. They called me controlling. Crazy." Her voice cracked. "When I saw your daughter on that ramp, all I saw was danger. I wasn't thinking. I just snapped." For a moment, the air went still. Her pain was real, twisted, buried under layers of control and bitterness, but real nonetheless. "I lost control," she whispered, "and now I've lost everything." I stood silently, watching the tears streak down her ash-covered cheeks. "Karen," I said finally, "you didn't lose everything. You still have a chance to tell the truth." She nodded weakly. "Maybe someday." I turned to leave, but before I reached the door, she said, "Tell Lily, I'm sorry." I paused, not sure if it was real remorse or just another performance. But for Lily's sake, I decided to believe her. That night, back home, I watched Lily sleep peacefully. Her new ramp, freshly painted pink again, shone under the porch light. The neighborhood was quiet, no more golf carts, no more shouting. Sometimes, justice doesn't come from courtrooms or badges. Sometimes it comes from the weight of truth and the courage to face it. Lily stirred and mumbled, half asleep, "Dad, are we safe now?" I brushed her hair gently and whispered, "Yeah, sweetheart, we're safe now." But deep inside, I knew the real battle wasn't with Karen. It was with a world that forgets compassion too easily, where rules outweigh kindness, and where one person's pain can turn into another's war. And that's the story I wanted the world to remember, not of hate or revenge, but of forgiveness, resilience, and the strength of a little girl who refused to let anyone break her again. Weeks passed. The ash from Karen's house was long gone, washed away by the rain, but the memories still hung heavy in Maplewood. The neighborhood that once feared her began to breathe again. People waved when they walked their dogs. Kids rode bikes down the street without looking over their shoulders. Even the flowers along the sidewalks seemed brighter, as if the whole community had been holding its breath until now. For the first time in a long while, peace didn't feel like a stranger. Lily's new ramp was complete, sturdy oak beams, double rails, painted the same bright pink she'd chosen the first time. I wanted to suggest beige, just to avoid trouble, but she shook her head fiercely. "No, Dad. Pink means brave," she said. And she was right. That ramp had become more than wood and paint. It was a symbol of resistance, of love, and of a community learning to choose empathy over ego. That Sunday, I hosted a small neighborhood gathering on our lawn. It wasn't an official meeting, no microphones, no clipboards, no rules. Just people. Real people. Mrs. Wilson brought homemade lemonade, the Johnson kids ran around with sparklers, and laughter filled the air again. When the sun began to set, I tapped a glass to get everyone's attention. I just want to say thank you. I began. Thank you for standing by Lily when things got ugly. Thank you for choosing to care instead of looking away. Lily stood beside me, holding her sketchbook, her shy smile returning after so many weeks of fear. Sometimes, I continued, we get so caught up in rules that we forget what they were meant for. Rules were supposed to protect us, not punish us. They were supposed to make us feel safe, not small. My daughter reminded me of that. There was a hush. Every word hung in the air like truth long overdue. She taught me that strength doesn't come from authority, I said. It comes from kindness, from standing up when it's hardest to, and from never letting anyone take away your color, even when the world demands beige. A few people chuckled softly. Others nodded, some wiping tears. Then Lily raised her sketchbook and opened to a page she'd been drawing on all week, a picture of the pink ramp surrounded by neighbors, each person holding hands. On the ramp, she'd written in bright letters, "Hope over authority." The crowd broke into applause. Even I had to turn away, for a second, pretending to clear my throat. That night, as everyone left, I noticed something on the porch, a small white envelope with my name on it. No stamp, no address. Just the words, "For Lily." I opened it carefully. Inside was a short note, written in shaky handwriting. For the girl who reminded me what kindness looks like. K. No return address. No signature. But I didn't need one. For a moment, I just stood there, the night air cool against my face. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was redemption, whatever it was, it meant something. Maybe Karen had finally found a piece of peace herself. Over the next few weeks, the HOA restructured completely. The board voted in new leadership, fair, transparent, and actually human. They invited every resident, young and old, to share ideas instead of complaints. And as strange as it sounds, something good grew from all that pain. Lily became a quiet symbol of courage in Maplewood. The community fund even sponsored a project in her name, the Lily Ramp Program, to help other families build accessible ramps. No HOA approvals needed. When she saw her name on the first plaque, she whispered. I didn't think my story would help anyone. I knelt beside her and smiled. That's what happens when you stand tall, even when it hurts. She looked up at me and said, "Does that mean Karen can stand tall again, too?" That question stopped me cold. For all the anger, the humiliation, the pain, here was my daughter, the one who had suffered most, asking if forgiveness was possible. And that's when I realized I wasn't the hero of this story. She was. Because forgiveness, real forgiveness, doesn't excuse what someone did. It simply refuses to let their hate poison your heart. A few days later, I visited the hospital one last time. Karen was recovering. Though she looked fragile, her hair cropped short, her hands trembling as she signed papers for discharge. When she saw me, she didn't look surprised. "I figured you'd come," she said quietly. "I didn't come to talk about the past," I replied. "I came because Lily wanted me to give you this." I handed her a small envelope with a child's handwriting on the front. Karen opened it slowly. Inside was a drawing, Lily's pink ramp, but this time, Karen was standing at the bottom, smiling. Beneath it, in shaky crayon letters, were the words, "It's okay to start again." Karen's eyes filled with tears. "She drew this for me?" She said, "Everyone deserves a second chance," I told her. For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then she nodded, pressing the drawing against her chest. "Maybe she's right." As I turned to leave, she called out, "Chief." I looked back. Her voice broke as she said, "Tell her, I'm sorry." When I came home that night, Lily was waiting on the porch. "Did you give it to her?" she asked. I smiled. "Yeah." And she said thank you. She grinned softly. "Good. Then we're all okay now." I sat beside her, both of us watching the street, quiet, peaceful, glowing under the lamplight. The air smelled of fresh grass and rain. For the first time since we'd moved to Maplewood, it truly felt like home. A few weeks later, I decided to record our story, not as a police chief, but as a father. Because there are Karens in every neighborhood, every school, every office. People who let control replace compassion. But there are also Lilies, children who remind us that even broken things can be rebuilt with love. And so, as you're watching this story right now, I want to ask you something. Wherever you're from, whatever city you're watching from, what color is your ramp? Maybe it's not pink. Maybe it's the way you stand up for someone, or the way you forgive someone who doesn't deserve it. Maybe it's just choosing kindness when anger feels easier. If this story touched your heart tonight, don't let it end here. Comment your city below, and tell me one good thing you'll do for someone this week. Because kindness spreads faster than cruelty, and sometimes one act of courage is all it takes to rebuild a broken world. And before you go, hit that subscribe button, because there are more stories like this. Stories that remind us that even in a world full of Karens, there are still Lilies lighting the way. Because, in the end, justice isn't about punishment. It's about learning. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's freedom. And love. Love is the only rule worth following. If you believe in kindness, share this story. Let someone out there know that no matter what they've been through, they can stand again, maybe even on their own pink ramp.